Hey guys, we're here with Destin, Texas garden guy. We're gonna take a little tour of his backyard. Be in it too? All right, how did you guys get into gardening?
So I got into gardening right after I got out of the Air Force. When I got home, my dad had a garden, and I was helping him out. They wanted to have some kind of garden. In a subdivision, you're very restricted on what you can do in the ground, and I can basically do nothing in the ground.
Really?
So I had to do a lot of raised beds, a lot of container gardening, and then that ended up turning into my passion. And you can see I've got my own nursery now. I mean, this is essentially a nursery.
Yeah.
I've got a garden on this half and a nursery over here.
I think you have hundreds of plants back here. This is amazing.
We did a count one time, and there was probably over 300 plants.
Oh my god. Yeah. Why do you think gardening is important?
I think gardening is important, especially for younger people, to see where their food comes from. A lot of people just go and get food from the store, food from the fast food restaurant, and they don't know where a cucumber comes from. They don't know where a tomato comes from. I get the comment all the time is, why do you need to garden? You can just go to the store and get a tomato. We saw during the pandemic that, hey, we couldn't find toilet paper. So what happens when we can't start finding bread, start finding tomatoes, finding oranges, It's important for us to, become more sustainable. Even if you can't grow all your food, at least try to supplement, one thing. I look at it like therapy. I spend a lot of time out here, especially after work, after a stressful week. I like to come out here and just, therapize myself in the soil. There's been studies that show, like, bare hands in soil are, like a form of medicine. Like it releases like endorphins and stuff, and if you're exposed to the sunlight, it's good for you too. So I mean, there's so many factors that should make people want to get outside and get gardening.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like therapy for me too. I feel like I'm meditating when I'm outside. I'm like, this
Absolutely.
is just, and it gives me something to look forward to after work. So tell me a little bit about this corner. It's really cool.
So I thought this corner would be able to contain all the plumerias I had, but that is actually not the case. They started growing really fast. It's only like my second year growing plumerias. And when I get into something, I start hoarding plants.
You hid your box back here.
Yeah.
Like, that is genius.
Yeah, so if you live in a subdivision, you know what I'm talking about. You got those green cable boxes with the fiber or whatever. You're not really allowed to plant anything. I'm actually not allowed to put anything in the ground 5 foot from the back of my fence. So anything that's above ground is fine. So I had to build a box to cover that up, and I've got raised beds all along this back fence. So I'm not actually digging, but everything has room to grow down below.
That's really smart.
These have become a real addiction for me. If y'all don't know what this is a desert rose or an Adenium obesum. They store all their water. They call them like the camel of plants, because they store all their water down below. And they really, really like quick draining soil. They don't like wet feet. They don't want soil that's going to sit there and hold moisture up against the trunk and rot it out. So I use this stuff by Soul Soils. It's a real gritty, like this is Leca and perlite and calcine clay, and it allows for water to drain really, really easily. So you're gonna have to water these more often, but they're not gonna hold water. They don't take as much water. But look at these blooms. I mean, I think this is actually, what's funny is I actually get this one from Lowe's. It'll pretty much make your own kit however you want to do it. And so I just ordered a bunch of pipes and a bunch of connectors, and I wanted to connect these two Vigo beds together. And you see I got my cherry tomatoes coming up and over. It's really cool because you can pretty much have them for birds, you can have them for lizards, snakes, fish, everything. And you open it up and it shows you every kind of moth and cat and butterfly you're going to see here in Texas. And more importantly, it shows you what the caterpillars are.
All right, so if you had one tip for new gardeners, what would it be?
Let me think about it for a second. For new gardeners, my best recommendation is start off small. If not, don't get 20 tomato plants your first year. Get 3 tomato plants. Get a manageable number so you're not overwhelmed. You're not freaking out when you lose one here and there. And then gradually move up to 1,000 plants like me. Don't do it all in one spring, because you'll just become overwhelmed. You'll hate it and you'll never want to do it again. So start small. Small is good.
I like that. I know how hard it is when you're at a nursery and you're going, oh my gosh, but there's so many different varieties. And it's hard to say no, but it is good to start small.
Yep. But being a plant hoarder isn't bad either.
Yeah.